The gym buzzed with energy, treadmills whirring, weights clanging, and voices mingling over the steady beat of the music. It was just another typical day until someone unexpected walked through the doors. Jason Statham, dressed in a simple black hoodie and sweatpants, the action star moved through the gym with quiet confidence, blending into the background. At first, no one even noticed him, but that changed quickly when Ryan, a cocky personal trainer known for his brash attitude, spotted him. Ryan thrived on attention. He wore the latest athletic gear, flexed at every opportunity, and never hesitated to dish out unsolicited advice, whether people wanted it or not. He was the self-proclaimed king of the gym, and now he had found a new target. With a smirk, Ryan called out loud enough for everyone to hear. "Hey buddy, you lost? This is a gym, not a library." A few gym-goers chuckled. Others glanced at Jason, curious to see how he would respond. Jason, however, didn't react. He simply continued his stretches, unfazed by Ryan's taunts. That only made Ryan push harder. "Are you sure you even know what you're doing? Those sweatpants scream yoga class, not weightlifting." Laughter rippled through the crowd, but Jason remained calm. He stood up, met Ryan's gaze, and said in a level tone, "Just here to work out." For a moment, Ryan hesitated. Something about Jason's demeanor unsettled him, but his ego wouldn't let him back down. Not in front of an audience. He grinned and decided to take things further. "All right, Mr. Silent Type. Let's see what you've got. How about a little challenge?" The stage was set. The gym was about to witness a lesson in strength, humility, and respect, one that no one would forget. "Show us how you handle some dumbbells," Ryan taunted, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Jason met his gaze, calm and unreadable. He didn't react to the provocation, didn't flinch at the challenge. Instead, he gave a small nod and walked toward the dumbbell rack. The gym grew quieter. People paused their workouts, curiosity pulling, their attention toward the unfolding interaction. Ryan followed, still talking. "You know, technique is everything. Wouldn't want to embarrass yourself in front of all these people, would you?" He smirked as a few onlookers chuckled. Jason picked up a pair of medium-weight dumbbells, rolling them in his hands as if testing their balance. Without a word, he began a set of slow, controlled bicep curls. His form was impeccable, elbows tucked in, movement smooth, breathing steady. Every rep was executed with quiet precision, completely unaffected by Ryan's mocking tone. But Ryan wasn't impressed. "Come on, man," he scoffed, shaking his head. "That's beginner stuff. You're not here to warm up all day, are you?" He grabbed a heavier pair of dumbbells and began an exaggerated version of the same exercise, flexing and grinning as he lifted. "This is how you do it. Watch and learn." Jason placed his dumbbells down and looked at Ryan, still calm. "I'm good, thanks." His voice was steady, polite, unaffected. Ryan, however, wasn't done. Sensing the crowd's growing interest, he pushed further. All right, he said dramatically, raising his hands. "Maybe dumbbells aren't your thing. Let's move on to something serious. How about some deadlifts? Let's see if you can handle real weight." By now, the entire gym was locked in, watching intently. Whispers spread. Would the quiet man in the hoodie accept the challenge, or would he walk away? Jason's gaze shifted to the barbell Ryan was pointing at, stacked with enough weight to challenge even seasoned lifters. Without hesitation, he stepped forward. Ryan leaned against a nearby machine, arms crossed, smirking. "Careful," he said. "That's not a lightweight barbell. You sure you know what you're doing?" Jason positioned himself before the barbell, adjusting his grip and stance with deliberate, methodical movements. The gym fell completely silent. The air grew thick with anticipation. Then, with one fluid motion, Jason lifted. The barbell rose effortlessly, his form flawless. He held the weight steady for a moment before lowering it in a controlled, precise manner. Again, and again. Each rep was executed with the same unwavering precision. The crowd murmured in astonishment. Ryan's smirk faltered. He hadn't expected this. Not only had Jason lifted the weight with ease, his form was textbook perfect. Trying to recover, Ryan clapped his hands. Not bad, not bad. but anyone can do a few deadlifts. Let's see how you handle something that requires real endurance. He gestured toward the heavy punching bag hanging in the corner. How about some cardio? You look like you might know your way around a punching bag. Or is that too much for you? Jason set the barbell down and turned toward the bag. For the first time, something flickered in his eyes. The crowd leaned in, anticipation mounting. Jason walked over, adjusted his stance, and raised his fists. Ryan, still grinning, stepped beside the bag and threw a few exaggerated punches. They were flashy, more for show than impact, drawing scattered applause from his usual followers. Jason remained still, watching. Then, he stepped forward. The moment his fists connected, the entire gym changed. His punches were lightning fast, precise, and devastatingly sharp. The bag shuddered under every strike. Each hit landed with brutal efficiency, the sound echoing like a drumbeat through the room. The crowd went silent. Ryan took a step back. This wasn't just some guy in a hoodie. And for the first time that day, Ryan realized he had seriously underestimated his opponent. The sheer power behind Jason's movements was impossible to ignore. He alternated between punches, elbows, and kicks, each strike sharp and precise. He wasn't just strong, his movements were fluid, almost like a choreographed dance, but with the undeniable intensity of someone who had trained for years. The more Jason worked the bag, the clearer it became. This was no amateur. This was mastery. A hush fell over the gym. Sweat glistened on Jason's brow, but his focus remained unshaken. Every hit landed with calculated force, each motion controlled and efficient. The bag swayed violently under his relentless assault. Ryan's smug grin faltered. His arms crossed tightly over his chest, his confidence visibly cracking. All right, he said loudly, forcing a chuckle. Not bad for a warm-up, but speed is one thing, power is another. Jason paused, then turned to face Ryan, his expression calm. But beneath it, there was a quiet, undeniable intensity. Without a word, he stepped back to the bag, planted his feet, and boom. With one explosive kick, the heavy bag swung violently, the chain groaning under the force. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Ryan's jaw tightened. Okay, tough guy, he said, his voice noticeably less confident. But this isn't a boxing gym. Let's get back to the weights. Show me what you've got with something serious, something no one here would dare attempt. The crowd exchanged glances. Ryan was grasping now, struggling to reclaim control. But they followed, riveted, as he led Jason back to the weightlifting area. Ryan pointed to a squat rack, the barbell stacked with an intimidating amount of weight. How about this? His tone was challenging, but there was an edge of uncertainty. Think you can handle it? Jason approached the squat rack, inspecting the barbell with the same measured calmness he'd maintained all along. The crowd held its breath, waiting for him to either rise to the challenge or finally admit defeat. But Jason, as always, was unshaken. He stepped under the bar, positioned it across his shoulders, and lifted. Effortlessly. His movements were deliberate, controlled, his strength unquestionable. As he descended into his first squat, the gym fell into absolute silence. Each repetition was perfect. By the time Jason racked the barbell, the silence shattered into thunderous applause. Ryan, now visibly flustered, tried to play it off. Not bad, he muttered, his earlier bravado nowhere to be seen. But anyone can lift weights. Real fitness is about endurance and agility. Jason didn't respond. He simply walked over to the pull-up bar. Without a word, he gripped the bar and began. Seamless, powerful pull-ups. Wide grip, narrow grip, one-handed. Each variation executed with the same effortless precision. With every pull, the crowd's cheers grew louder. Ryan, now desperate to shift the attention back to himself, called out, "All right, that's enough. Let's wrap this up with a real challenge. You think you're tough? Let's see how you do with some battle ropes." Jason walked over, picked up the heavy ropes without hesitation, and began. At first, his movements were steady and controlled, the waves flowing smoothly. Then, with a sudden burst of energy, he switched to slams, each impact shaking the floor, the ropes snapping like thunderclaps. The raw power on display was undeniable. As Jason finished and set the ropes down, the crowd erupted in applause. Ryan stepped forward as if to say something, but then he stopped. Jason looked at him. Not with arrogance, not with anger, just quiet, unshakable confidence. And in that moment, Ryan knew. He had lost. The crowd, once captivated by Ryan's showmanship, now whispered among themselves. They weren't questioning Jason anymore. They were questioning Ryan. The trainer, once the center of attention, now seemed small in comparison. And the gym knew Jason hadn't just won the challenge. He had ended the debate entirely. Jason looked at the weight, then at Ryan. Without a word, he stepped forward, adjusted his stance, and gripped the bar. The gym fell silent. Jason took a deep breath, tightened his core, and lifted. The barbell rose smoothly from the ground, his muscles tensing as he pulled the massive weight with perfect form. There was no strain on his face, no struggle, only absolute control. He held the lift at the top for a brief moment before lowering it back down with the same precision. A stunned hush filled the gym. Ryan's forced smirk faltered. He had expected Jason to struggle, maybe even fail. Instead, Jason had executed the lift flawlessly, making it look almost effortless. But Jason wasn't finished. Before Ryan could say anything, Jason stepped back up to the bar. Without hesitation, he added more weight. Gasps echoed throughout the gym. The plates clanked as he secured them in place, the sheer amount of weight, now reaching an intimidating level. Even seasoned lifters exchanged uncertain glances. This wasn't normal strength. Once again, Jason positioned himself, his grip tightening, his focus razor sharp. And then he lifted. The barbell rose again, smoothly, powerfully, as if the additional weight meant nothing. The gym erupted in cheers. There was no denying it. Now, Jason wasn't just strong. He was in a league of his own. As he locked out the lift, even those who had initially sided with Ryan couldn't contain their admiration. Ryan, standing off to the side, had gone completely silent. But Jason still wasn't done. As the barbell settled back on the ground, Jason turned to Ryan. "You wanted to see strength," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Now let's see yours." The challenge was issued, but this time it hadn't come from Ryan. The trainer's face paled. His eyes flickered to the weight Jason had just lifted. And he knew. Deep down he knew. His hands fidgeted at his sides, his mind scrambling for an excuse. But there was none. Jason, sensing Ryan's hesitation, didn't push further. Instead, he turned to the onlookers. "Strength isn't just about lifting weights," he said, his voice carrying through the gym. "It's about discipline, respect, and knowing when to push forward." The crowd nodded. Jason had done more than just prove his strength. He had taught them something. Ryan, meanwhile, had nothing to say. His confidence had crumbled, his usual arrogance replaced by uncertainty. He had spent the entire day mocking Jason, and yet he had been outclassed in every possible way. Then, someone in the crowd broke the silence. "Wait a minute. That's Jason Statham." A wave of realization spread through the gym. Gasps, murmurs. People exchanged stunned glances as they connected the dots. The quiet, humble man they had underestimated wasn't just another gym-goer. He was an international action star, one of the most well-trained, disciplined actors in Hollywood. Ryan's eyes widened in horror. He had spent the entire time mocking Jason Statham. The gym exploded into excited chatter. Some people pulled out their phones while others just stood there, stunned. And yet, in the middle of all the chaos, Jason remained composed. He offered a small smile as the realization spread. Ryan, now fully aware of his mistake, swallowed hard. His cocky demeanor was gone. He looked around and saw the truth. He hadn't just lost a challenge. He had lost the respect of the gym. But Jason didn't rub it in. Instead, he walked up to Ryan, extended a hand, and said, "Everyone starts somewhere." Ryan hesitated, but then, seeing the sincerity in Jason's eyes, he finally accepted the handshake. There was no gloating, no taunting, just an unspoken message of respect. And with that, Jason turned and walked toward the exit, leaving behind a gym full of people who had just witnessed something they would never forget. The gym still buzzed with excitement. People whispered among themselves, replaying what they had just seen. Jason Statham had walked in as just another gym-goer, but he had left a legend. Ryan, meanwhile, stood frozen, his mind racing. Just minutes ago, he had been the dominant figure in the gym, the one who mocked others and demanded attention. But now he felt small. Jason's handshake had been more than just a gesture. It had been an unspoken lesson. Jason had every right to humiliate him, to throw his insults back in his face, but he hadn't. Instead, he had shown grace, and in doing so, he had proven that true strength wasn't just about lifting weights. It was about character. Ryan exhaled, his shoulders dropping slightly. For the first time in a long time, he had nothing to say. Here's a polished and more immersive rewrite. The realization settled over Ryan like a crushing weight. He had spent the entire time trying to bring Jason down, only to realize he had been standing before a man who had already mastered everything. He pretended to know. A few gym members stepped forward, their admiration for Jason clear. "That was incredible," one of them said. "You didn't even let his words get to you." Jason simply shrugged. "There's no need to prove anything with words," he said. "Actions speak for themselves." The simplicity of his words hit Ryan harder than any insult ever could. For the first time, Ryan finally found his voice. It was quieter now, stripped of its usual arrogance. He hesitated, then sighed. "I misjudged you. Badly." Jason gave a small nod but didn't say anything. He wasn't looking for an apology. He had already moved past it. Ryan looked around, at the others in the gym, then back at Jason. I shouldn't have treated you like that, or anyone for that matter." His voice carried something it never had before: sincerity. "You're right," he admitted. "Strength isn't just about lifting heavy. It's about respect." Jason studied him for a moment before offering a small, approving nod. "Respect is earned," he said simply. "And it starts with how you treat others." Ryan exhaled as if a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. For years, he had built an image of himself as the toughest guy in the gym. But today, Jason had shattered that illusion. Not with insults, not with aggression, but with quiet confidence and overwhelming skill. Jason glanced at the time. He hadn't even come here to prove a point. He had just wanted a simple workout. With a final nod, he picked up his gym bag and made his way toward the exit. As he passed the front desk, the gym manager, who had been watching the entire exchange, gave him an appreciative smile. "You handled that well," he said. Jason gave a small grin. It was just another workout, and with that he walked out, leaving behind a gym full of people who would never see training or respect the same way again. The gym slowly settled back into its usual rhythm, but the impact of what had just happened still lingered. Everyone who had witnessed Jason Statham's response to Ryan's mockery had learned something valuable that day. Strength wasn't just about lifting heavy weights or showing off. It was about discipline, respect, and humility. Jason had every reason to lash out, to put Ryan in his place with harsh words or arrogance. But he didn't. Instead, he let his actions speak, proving that true confidence doesn't need loud declarations. He had nothing to prove, and that was what made him so powerful. Ryan had started the day as a man who thought he knew everything. By the end, he had learned one of the most important lessons of his life. It wasn't about being the strongest in the room. It was about how you treated others. Respect wasn't something you demanded. It was something you earned. For the gym members, this moment would stay with them. Many had once admired Ryan's confidence, but now they saw things differently. True strength wasn't about belittling others. It was about lifting people up. One younger gym-goer, who had often been nervous about working out in front of Ryan, felt a sense of relief. He realized he didn't need to be afraid of being judged. Jason's actions had proven that even the strongest people could be kind. that real confidence came from within, not from tearing others down. This story serves as a reminder for everyone. Never judge someone by their appearance. Never underestimate quiet strength. Because the loudest voice in the room isn't always the strongest. In the end, respect, patience, and humility will always win. As Jason walked away from the gym, he didn't need applause. He didn't need validation. He had done what he always did, stayed true to himself, and that, more than anything, was what left everyone speechless.